Hey, this is Friday, July the 8th. Today we're reading Ecclesiastes 10 through 12. It's the very last of the book of Ecclesiastes, and 2 Timothy chapter 4. In the very end of the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 or so, of the heading, if you're reading an NIV Bible, maybe one of those blue Bibles, just like I used to preach from every Sunday and to read on my own as well, you might see a little heading. It says, the conclusion of the matter. And if you've ever taken any kind of communications course or whatever, you need an introduction, you needed a few points and a conclusion. Well, Solomon's coming to his conclusion right here. He's wrapping everything up, and you know that the conclusion matters. This is the closing argument that a lawyer makes in a court case. This is the end of a book that wraps things up. This is the invitation, the challenge, the end of a message. This is what Solomon is doing here. The conclusion of the matter. And if we go over here to verse 13 and 14, the last two verses, the very, very, very end, Solomon says this: "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or it is evil." Solomon, with the last verse, is reminding us that there's a day coming that you and I and every single other person on the face of the earth that has ever or will ever live will stand before God. And he will be the judge, separating those that are right, that are righteous, that are following him from those that are not. Every deed, every life, whether good or evil, will be brought into judgment. But verse 13 says right here, fear God and keep his commandments. And we have to pause for a minute. Does Solomon want us to be afraid of God? How often in the Bible have we read already in the Old Testament, and how often will we read it in the New Testament as we read on? How often do we hear somebody say, fear God? Fear God, fear God. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. How in the world do we coincide a thing that says be afraid of God, be fearing of God, but also trust him? How do we fear somebody we trust? When it talks about fearing the Lord, I need you to know this definitively. Fear God and keep his commandments. It is not a request or a command to be afraid of God. It is not. It is a pointed reminder that God is bigger than you, bigger than me, more powerful than us. He created everything with a word. He will judge everybody with a word. He's greater than us. And in the middle, between creation and judgment, God has given us the guidelines, the bumper. If you go bowling and they put the bumpers up for kids, keeps the ball in the middle, out of the gutters and the sides, so it's easier to play. He has given us the bumpers, the reminders, the guidelines, so that we can live a life. So we hear him say at creation, it is very good, and we hear him say at judgment, well done. We need to remember that he's a God that's so big that if we live a life that rejects him, then he won't say well done. He'll say, you wicked servant. And there is a punishment at the end. Well, we are called to fear God. We are called to remember his power, his might, his size, his wisdom, everything about him, so that we remember God means what he says, and we give him a holy respect, a holy honor. And we realize who he is and who we are, and we then align our life with him. We don't bend his life to ours, we align ours with his. Trusting that if we give God a holy respect and we follow his guidelines and we follow his word, then in the end we hear, well done. I'm not afraid of God, but I fear him. I'm not afraid of him, but I respect him. I'm not afraid of him, but I honor him. I'm not afraid of him, but I serve him. That is what Solomon ends with. Honor God, respect God, serve God, follow God, and keep his commands. Live a life that follows his way, does his works, speaks his words, so you will hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I hope as we wrap up Ecclesiastes that you are taking these words to heart, and as you go to work, as you go home, you are honoring God in everything that you do. You are living within the bumpers, and you are letting your actions and your words align with God's heart, so that everybody looks at you and knows you are a follower of the King of creation. This week, going to this weekend, make sure you live a life that fears God and keeps his commands. And until I see you again, you are sent.